The biggest thing that causes women to be hard on themselves, put pressure on themselves, which causes you to feel rigid and not flexible and not in flow, is the lack of recognizing your accomplishments and feeling proud of yourself. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the She's Next Level podcast. I'm your host, Darsh, and I help women live their most expansive lives, look hotter, feel healthier, and be happier. So, that is something that you want to do, then make sure that you subscribe, stick around because we release episodes every Thursday. So today's episode is actually very unplanned and very different than what I have been doing for what is coming up to almost a year since I've had my podcast, which is insane to me because it literally feels like I just started like yesterday. And it's something that has been very special for me, near and dear to my heart, actually like one of my most favorite creations, because I love speaking. I love sharing my wisdom and I love connecting with you guys and being able to share my stories and things that have helped me in my life and just living a more authentic and aligned and just more have a happier life overall and still being able to get what the fuck I want without having to compromise or settle. So it's really interesting because I had no idea what I was going to talk about today. And it's literally me just sharing the lesson that I learned from shifting a what I call a body reflection, which is basically your body's always communicating to you. So anytime you have a emotional imbalance going on because your emotions are connected with your body, your nervous system, and anytime you have any type of emotional imbalance where you are disconnected from your true core authentic self, from your highest potential, then your body is going to reflect that to you. It's going to show you the imbalance that you have going on. So it's going to either show up in pain, it's going to show up in some type of physical symptom that you experience to get your attention. So I had that happen yesterday where, for the first time ever, now that I'm thinking of it, missed my period. And you guys, all I gotta say is I know it's not from being pregnant or anything like that. I can confirm that. I know that to be true. So I knew that there was something going off in my body. Now, most people, when they experience any physical symptoms in their body, they are not thinking about emotions. Like, that is the last thing that they even think about. Most people don't even have the awareness of that. They are thinking, what is wrong with me? What do I have to fix? Like, what? I'm not healthy anymore. Like, all of these things that go on in their mind and thinking that they need to go to the doctor, they need to go take a medicine to help fix whatever's going on. But the thing is that that is actually not the first thing you want to do. The first thing is you wanted to address the emotional root cause of what is going on, what your body is trying to tell you that you're out of balance with. And so yesterday, I had this intuitive pull and nudge to actually look into this because it was a week since I haven't had my period and I've never not had my period since the day I fucking got my period. And so I was like, I knew this had to be something going on that if I don't address it now, it's going to get worse and it's going to show up in other areas of my life in other ways. And I'd rather just tackle it now. One of the things I want people to leave with in this episode is that it's better to face what you have going on, the emotional imbalances that you're dealing with that you know intuitively, because we're all intuitive. You know when you're feeling off from being your true core authentic self. And so it's important to face them now and face them as soon as you can, then wait and push them away because they're just going to get louder and more worse by the way that they show up because it's been going on for a while. So I ended up going down the rabbit hole of decoding what the fuck was going on. I have like special tools and special things that I do. I also use my intuition, got to the root of it, and it was all around connected to my intuition, which you wouldn't have not put two and two together if you didn't have some of the tools that I share with my clients around how to get to their emotional root causes. So basically, what it was for me was me not feeling in flow with using my intuition in new ways because I am going through a whole new level with it where I'm learning new tools and new ways of using it. And so, yes, like anytime you're trying anything new, it feels uncomfortable, and especially with intuition because intuition is the language of the unknown, I call it. And it's something that I just feel like we weren't taught as kids, it's kind of like learning a language. And it's like I'm learning this entire new skill set. Obviously, we know with practice, things get better and better and better, but it is still something that it really requires you to trust yourself and trust what's coming through and have the courage to just take action on what's coming through for you. What's crazy is that basically I ended up shifting the emotion once I got to that root. And I swear to God, and I felt it in my body 4 hours later, because this was around like early evening. And then right when I went to bed, I started feeling cramps. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I knew instantly what the fuck it was. I knew that that was a sign of my period coming because I just, what your body feels like, when you have it. And so I felt it, and then when I woke up in the morning, I had it, and it was wild. It was less than 24 hours where I found the root, the emotional root to what was happening. I shifted it, and I'm on my period right now, literally. So what I want to fast forward with what happened to me today, this morning, is that I wasn't in the mood to get on camera and just record a podcast episode. I did, however, feel like I want to express my voice. I want to record a podcast. I want to speak, but I didn't feel like I wanted to do it through the way that I've been doing it for the almost entire year, which is through video, the way that I always do it. And it's crazy because the old me would have been like, no, like this is the way that we're doing it. This is the way that we've always done it. Like consistency matters. And so we're going to show up no matter what. And I feel like a lot of women do this because we are so used to doing things a certain way that it becomes familiar, it becomes comfortable. And we also get hard on ourselves because then we think, oh, we should know better. Like we should be good at this by now. The lesson behind this for me and what made me decide to do an audio podcast instead was all around me being in flow and me being flexible. And I think when you're not flexible with how you're doing things, with how things are unraveling for you, with the how, that is when we create this rigidness around this. That's when we create this disconnect and resist our desires from within us. Because at the end of the day, I had to ask myself, I was like, what is the most important thing to me? Like, what is most important? And I was like, yeah, like getting my voice out there, speaking, getting this podcast episode out there for my people. That's the most important. So it didn't matter the how I was going to do it. And what was really interesting too is that I also decided to tap into my future higher self. And you could totally do this too. It's a great little it's like a visualization slash feeling technique that I guess I just pulled in the moment and channeled in the moment because I was like, I wanted to make sure that this was not an emotional thing that I was doing, which I'll get into in a second of what that means. But I wanted to make sure that this was truly aligned. So I just said the future higher version of myself that already has learned the lesson that I'm basically in the moment of learning of what's going on with me. So I fast forward to that and I felt into it and I was like, yeah, the version of me that already has learned this lesson, she really values freedom. And freedom is a very high value of mine. So, what does freedom look like to me right now then? What does it feel like? How am I really embodying that value in my life? And what am I doing? I got really specific, and all of these things started coming to me. Like, I started talking to my brain about justifying all of these things and what I was thinking about doing and balancing out my perception because that is the biggest reason why we feel a disconnect anyways is because our perception's out of balance because everything is in balance always. Everything is an equal amount of positive as well as equal amount of negative. I talk about that a lot on my podcast because that's like the foundation of unconditional love. But that is what I was starting to receive. And I was like, oh my God, my higher self is trying to teach me the lesson of flexibility and what it actually means to be in flow. And being in flow is truly the art of being able to listen to your desires, to listen to yourself, and doing so in a way where you are focused on what's most important to you and you're not so focused on the how because you know what feels right for you in that moment. And I have been consistently showing up doing my podcast for almost a year now through video. Looking at one day where I don't feel like recording a video doesn't mean anything about me. it just feels like I want to express myself differently where I choose comfort today. And being out in nature and doing it this way, and that's totally okay. Because that's the thing is that a lot of people tend to be hard on themselves when they choose to do things differently than what they have been doing, thinking that they should have been used to that thing by now, or thinking that because it's so new and uncomfortable and different that that's not the way that it should be, because that's not the way that they've been showing up, especially when it comes to their business and the way that you're doing things in your business. I've seen this like a lot in my own life, and I know that a lot of women struggle with this of like they want to be consistent. They want to make sure that they achieve their goals, but you're not going to if you're out of alignment with what feels best for you. Because that's going to like drain your energy when you're consistently making yourself do things for the sake of consistency versus being flexible and adaptable enough to do things in a way that lights you up. And that could really just be the main thing that like prevents you from actually doing something that you've been wanting to do for a while, or being consistent in what you're doing versus not. Because one of the biggest things that creates that lack of motivation for women is because they're not doing things in a way that fills their cup up. And sometimes it really is just about tweaking how you're doing something. And that's why I want to go back into the emotional piece, because I actually had to ask myself, and this was something you can do intuitively, or journal on, and ask yourself, like, from a level of 0 to 100% being the most emotionally imbalanced, what percentage am I actually emotionally imbalanced by making this decision? And for me, it was like 26%, which means that I was pretty neutral in this decision, that this was actually more of a aligned decision for me. So that also gave my brain and my human self a lot more confidence to be rooted in what I'm doing and not second guess it and not guilt trip myself for doing it the way that I'm doing it. And you can do this, you can journal, or you can use your intuition and just ask yourself a question like this to figure out if you need that actual support and reassurance that, hey, like, is this more of an emotional thing, or is this actually an aligned thing? Because when it is emotional, you will have a feeling about it. Like, instead of it being more neutral and you actually being in the energy of seeing the perfection in your decision, you will be a lot more emotional, where like the emotional scale would tip a little bit more on one end versus being in that ultimate neutrality. So that has been a great way for me, because the moment I made that decision of like, I'm going to record my podcast through audio today, I'm going to go out for a walk, I'm just going to do something different today than the way I've been doing it, I actually felt like neutral. Like I didn't really feel a feeling except a little bit of energy, actually, of like, I still want to share my voice. Like, I still want to do this. Something else that I want to add on is understanding why you're doing things. I think this is definitely something that's often missed because of our emotions. And if you are not aware of your emotions and how you're feeling and moving from that place of authenticity and alignment, then you can be doing things that will either hold you back from getting to where you want to be, or you could be not doing things that you know you need to do that you want to do. And it's literally only a matter of shifting an emotion, and then you get to go do the thing because you're back in alignment again. I mean, I've seen this happen for myself, where I wanted to go to a solid core class and I was feeling emotionally off, and I knew it. This was actually on 4th of July. And I knew something was off and I just didn't know what was happening. I sat down, I got to the root of what was going on, and within minutes, my traps were like a little bit tight, so they like relaxed, and I was able to like finally feel better. And I felt better, and I actually ended up going. So I didn't have to cancel a class, cancel my health and fitness goals that I'm committed to because of an emotion. And understanding emotions, I know I talked about a little bit about it in a previous episode that you guys can go check it out to understand your emotions better. And that's like a part one. I can make another episode if you guys want me to dive deeper into emotions. I will say that understanding yourself and your emotions will help you actually understand what's most important and why you're doing things. Because for me, I had to really get clear on what I actually want to feel and why am I doing the things that I do. With the podcast, I love speaking. And so I'm doing this for me. I think a lot of people end up doing things for the external reasons for the sake of getting something or for the sake of receiving validation, whatever your reason is. I want you to like come back home to yourself and give yourself the desire. Give yourself what it is that you need, that you want. Because when you start to do that, you actually start to listen to yourself more and you stop listening to the outside world more. You stop seeing how other people are doing things and you don't even care anymore because all you care about is how you feel inside. All you care about is how you're doing things. And if those things that you're doing is feeling good. And I feel like I may have mentioned this prior, but I will mention this more and more and more because it's a huge part of my work and a huge part of my own journey and lessons is the biggest thing that causes women to be hard on themselves, put pressure on themselves, which causes you to feel rigid and not flexible and not in flow, is the lack of recognizing your accomplishments and feeling proud of yourself. This has been a big lesson for me, and this is where the not feeling enough, not doing enough stems from. And this is what causes you to not be in flow. Because when you're in flow, you are in the present moment. You are living, you are being, you are in the essence of I already have energy. You are celebrating and focusing on everything that you have and everything that you're doing, celebrating those small accomplishments that every single day, they may be small, but they add up. And I'm telling this to myself along with you guys because I've actually like made it an intentional practice to recognize my accomplishments throughout the day and just feel proud of myself. And in the beginning, it was kind of hard, but I kept going. Everything that I would finish throughout the day, all the small things, I would just be like, great job. Like, you did that. Like, great job for the day. Like, you actually did that. You actually, like, did something. And even on the days where I didn't do anything, I was like, great job because you gave yourself the rest that you needed. And even the way that I responded to things, like, great job. You didn't react the way that you normally do. You're not as triggered as you were before about something. And that's great. That's showing signs of healing and shifting and evolving and growing. And so, all of these small things, I want us to start recognizing our accomplishments more and like feeling more happier and present in the moment because we do. Because that is when you actually allow yourself to be in the flow. Like, you allow yourself to tap into your intuition more and be free. I think the biggest value for majority of the world, it is freedom. And when you allow yourself to truly be free from the how, from the what you're doing, right? It can change. You allow yourself to be adaptable and be flexible in changes in life because that's inevitable. Things are always evolving and growing. You actually start to feel more at peace and more happy and ultimately even more nourished, which is another big thing that I find a lot in my clients. And when it comes to healing the body and when it comes to being in your feminine essence, another topic for another day if you guys want me to dive into that. I just want to give you guys just an awareness to start with around what areas of my life am I not being in flow and I'm not allowing myself to be flexible. And a lot of it you'll notice will have to do with the how, like the how you're doing things. And you'll know because you'll feel that disconnect when you find yourself pausing or you find yourself kind of like restricting yourself from doing something or you find yourself feeling stuck or feeling pressure around something. I had this also pop up for me in my finances where it's so crazy when you start helping women with their body and my higher self is like we're going to master this. So I will give you body reflections so that you can start to learn to decode them and have stories to share. So I had this pop up again for me in my finances. And you'll notice if something starts to pop up for you in multiple areas of life, which it usually will, because being emotionally imbalanced in one area of life will always pop up in another. It just starts to trickle down that way unless you tackle it. But when you start to notice that pattern, pay attention and ask yourself, like, how am I not being flexible in this area of life? How am I putting pressure on myself? What is actually the most important thing for me that matters in this area of life? What are my values? Get really clear. And if it is freedom, being in flow, being flexible is going to be key for that because the version of you that actually really wants to be free and feel free and be rooted in that doesn't put pressure on themselves. They're actually highly adaptable and flexible, and they don't really care so much about how things are done. They are willing to actually put themselves first and their desires first and do things for themselves, being the reason why they do everything and anything, be rooted in that, than what the external world is going to give them. They are giving it to themselves. And give yourself permission to try new things. I think that's been one of the biggest lessons for me too, is allowing myself to try new things. Because when I do, I actually feel fulfilled. I feel happier. I feel like I'm getting better. So don't be afraid to try new things. And even if you suck at it in the beginning, you're never really sucking at it, you're getting better. Something else that I want to add on before we wrap this episode up, and that just came through me, is that ultimately being flexible is not about what you do and even how you're doing it. It's about being able to focus on the bigger picture and like what's the most important thing to you, and also being able to prioritize yourself. Being able to give yourself what you need. Like for today, I didn't have the energy to show up on camera. And with the energy that I did have for today, listening to my body, listening to where I'm at right now and being okay with it, I was able to come up with a game plan of what I could do that would give me energy, meaning like fulfillment by feeling like my cup is full. Because anytime you feel like your energy is not where it's at, then the first thing you want to do is fill your cup up. A lot of women don't do this. A lot of women are overextending themselves for the sake of consistency, for the sake of being capable and making sure that they get to where they want to be, but they don't realize that they're the ones in charge. They're the ones that are creating the life that they're creating and the energy in which they're creating it in. And I wanted to include this distinction in here because it's really easy to just set things aside and not do anything and kind of just completely detach and give yourself excuses for not doing something for the sake of feeling better. But what actually makes you feel better is when you're doing things from a place of alignment and actually giving yourself what you need. So if your energy is a little bit more deprived than the normal, then I want you to first of all give yourself that grace, because a lot of women, especially ambitious women, they tend to beat themselves up when they are not on their A game, when they're not feeling their 100%, but that's not always going to be the case. And something that you can do is also look into the past week or the past 2 weeks and be like, majority of the time, was I happy for the most part? Was I aligned? Was I energized? And the answer most likely will be yes. I mean, I know that is the case for me. And so having one day where I do feel a little bit off from the norm, and I still have this desire to show up for my commitments and do what I want to do, how can I be more flexible? How can I be flexible in, first of all, not beating myself up about it, but actually being like, great, we get to express ourselves in a different way today and do things differently and still be able to get to where I want to be. And that's going to open up so much for you, so much flow, so many more ideas and creative new ways of doing things that you may have never been open to because you didn't have the awareness and the willingness to be open to that. Definitely sit with that, because I feel like a lot of women don't prioritize themselves in the way that they need versus them thinking that they are. And doing things like self care and all of that is great, but it's not actually what's going to give you what you need. And giving yourself what you need by being kind and graceful with yourself and being flexible with how you're doing things, and even checking in, like having check-ins with yourself throughout the day. I do this often of like, where am I at emotionally? Is there something that I want to do that I don't really feel drawn to do right now? And I explore with curiosity. I'm like, why? If I don't feel like doing it, why? Is it because of the way that I'm doing it? Or is it because I genuinely just don't feel like I have the capacity or just have the inspiration to do it right now? Because you will get to the bottom of why you're doing things, how you're doing things, and it'll allow you to feel more fulfilled in life because you are listening to yourself. You are giving yourself what you need and doing the things that you want to do that feel aligned for you, not because of the sake of consistency, not because you feel like you have to in order to create success for yourself. So that is definitely going to help you with determining how to lead yourself throughout the day and doing so in a more aligned way. Give yourself that flow. Get in flow, girl. So, thank you so much for tuning in today's podcast. Today was very it was very in flow for me. Like no notes, just out on a walk and just being in flow, channeling. I hope you guys receive some golden nuggets with that. I know that this has definitely been a big wake up call for me, and I will definitely for sure be updating you guys on any new revelations that I have, new perspectives that really help empower me in being more in flow in my life and being more flexible. Be sure to hit me up on Instagram. I would love to hear your feedback and your insights and what you guys took away from this. My Instagram is Darsh Vibes, DARSHVIBESS. Also, if you are interested in healing anything going on physically in your body, any physical symptoms, I am taking on 3 clients this month for my one on one sessions to help you get to the emotional root, get the physical tools you need to shift that. The link to apply will be in the description box below. And if you haven't left me a review, please do so. It helps grow the community, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you. And be sure to share this episode with a friend if you found it helpful. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.